and gentlemen, this is the Above the Bar podcast, a show about a middle-aged father, current events, and how these things affect my everyday life. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. This is the highly anticipated episode. We have been waiting for this one for a while here. We're going to get ready to do some house cleaning before we do anything, make some things happen. Give me a moment. I have to feed my children. They all had lacrosse practice today, so I had to substitute in and use my face to pay for their meals. Isn't that interesting? We don't even start Anthony. We have Anthony on today with us also, folks. So we're going to limit how much he gets to tell us about how the world's going to take over. He's biting his face for those of you who can't see it. But more importantly, and Jeffrey, I'm going to let you pronounce your last name because I want to say Deskovic is what I want to say.
That's pretty close. The pronunciation is Deskovic.
Deskovic. All right, cool. See, my grandmother remarried, and she remarried a Tilak. So I had and growing up in Baltimore, we had plenty of Polish last names. And if you guys can hear what sounds like thunder above my head, it's not. It's the 3-year-old who will be 4 next week, running from one end of the house to the other like a complete lunatic. So if you hear this in the audio. So before we get started, folks, as we always do, we got to do some housekeeping here first and foremost. So the first and foremost thing is let's see if I get it right, over my right shoulder, because I always do this backwards, is the place where we put our stickers. So we have sticker and a cause. Anything that you've got out there, folks, if you have your own podcast, you have your own show, anything whatsoever, a cause. Jeffrey, if you have a sticker, please let me know, because I would love to have one, and we'll put that sticker up there. I don't know if you have stickers for your cause, but I think at a minimum, stickers would be great for it. But we have sticker and a cause. We've actually got our Jay's Wicked sticker. I gotta put that up there. That's going to be this week's sticker. We have sticker and a cause, so send me that. The other thing, our one goal at the beginning of every show is to share the living daylights out of this. So make sure you take whatever link you're listening to this on, and you go through it, and you make sure you share it to every page, all those yard sale pages that you have. Make sure you share and share until they kick you out of it. That is always your goal. I have no idea how many of these I've been kicked out of, but I'm assuming it's plenty of them. And for those of you who don't know Jeffrey, as we're going to get started here as I continue to share, Jeffrey, I'm going to try to do my best on how I found out about you. And you tell me and fill it in. Maybe I should ask this question. Anthony, do you know Jeffrey's story?
No.
Well, you're about to get educated. So Jeffrey, I found out about him through you. I always say Jaya. You said it's Gia.
Yes.
But she was a guest on our show. She's a documentary filmmaker, and she made a film called Conviction that I thought was very interesting. And it was about a 16-year-old boy who in Peekskill, New York. And if you don't know where Peekskill is, if you're a railroad buff, it is, depending upon how you look at it, it's either the first or the last railroad crossing is Hudson Avenue on the Hudson line. So it's famous for that for railroaders. And it's just a small little town. There's not much to it. It's got a great park next to it. It's a very, it's a community. It's a good community. I would absolutely say that. I knew it from when I was in the Marine Corps. But a 16-year-old boy who today we would say is just a quiet kid, nothing beyond that, was wrongly accused, coerced, and convicted of rape and murder, and then not even given the option to be in a juvenile facility, but placed inside of an adult facility. Am I pretty much spot on so far, Jeffrey?
You are spot on. Yes.
Spent 60, I'm getting chills just even saying it. Spent 16 years of your life incarcerated. How many times, Jeffrey, do you think that your life was people took attempts at your life?
Maybe five. I mean, I was assaulted 5 or 6 times. I mean, there was that, but then there was also non-physical attempts. I mean, sometimes when guards would tell other prisoners, what I was incarcerated for, hoping that that would motivate them to assault me, because I was there for the sex offenses, a vigilante mentality, was people convicted of sex offenses. I consider those to be attempts on my life.
So at least 5 plus.
Correct. Yes.
And it wasn't until, and folks, if you have not watched this documentary, Conviction, and Gia said to us they're working on an hour-and-a-half version of the 22-minute version. If
Right.
you have not watched this and you don't take a moment and consider every kid you've ever known that we made a joke about, that was quiet, that didn't fit in, and stop and go, something isn't right here. If you don't do that after that's over with, I don't know what to tell you. But I also want, in Jeffrey's words, he's going to give us the whole story, but I wanted to just give the wave top of this. Jeffrey, I got to tell you, thank you already for coming in.
Thank you for having me, sharing your platform with me. It's another way to get my story out, which I do find healing, cathartic, and difference making. So my wrongful conviction happened based upon a coerced false confession, prosecutorial misconduct, fraud by the medical examiner, terrible public defender. Let me unpack that a little bit. So the year was 1990. There hadn't been a murder in Peekskill in maybe 20 years. A classmate of mine was found murdered and raped. And some of the kids in the school told the police that they might want to speak with me because I didn't quite fit in. That was what the police said to put me on their radar. Another thing is I had an emotional reaction to the victim. I had an emotional reaction to the victim having been murdered, and the police found that to be suspicious. They got a psychological profile from the NYPD, which purported to have the psychological characteristics of the actual perpetrator, and I had the misfortune of matching that. So for about 6 weeks, the police played this cat and mouse game with me. Half the time, they would speak to me as if I was a suspect, and the other half the time, they would pretend like they needed my help to solve the crime. They would say things like, "The kids won't talk freely around us, but they will around you. Let us know if you hear anything. Stop in from time to time." They would ask me opinion questions and congratulate me that my opinions were correct. So I wanted to be a cop before I was a teenager. So that is how they pulled the wool over my eyes. And then in addition to that, I came from a single parent household. My father was never involved in my life in any aspect. And that intersected with the good cop, bad cop technique, in which half the time one officer pretended to be my friend and the other one would take a more aggressive role. And I began to look up to the officer who had been pretending to be my friend as a father figure. So eventually they got me to agree to take a lie detector test. I went to the police station on a school day, and my mother and grandmother thought that I was in school, so they didn't call around looking for me. They drove me out of county from Peekskill, New York to town of Brewster in Putnam County. So it was about 40 minutes away by car. So I meant I was not able to leave on my own. I was dependent upon the police. They had 3 officers who came there with me from Peekskill, but then there was the polygraphist, who was a Putnam County Sheriff's investigator, Daniel Stevens, and he was pretending not to be law enforcement. So he never read me my rights. I never learned he was law enforcement. He gave me a 4-page brochure which explained how the polygraph worked, but then it had a lot of big words in it which I didn't understand. But then I thought, I'm here to help the police, so what does it matter? Let's just get on with it. From there, they put me in a small room, and I was given countless cups of coffee. Seems fairly clear that the purpose of giving me the coffee was to get me nervous. Obviously, I didn't have an attorney present, and I wasn't given anything to eat either. And after the coffee routine, the polygraphist gave me. After he gave me all those coffee, he launched into his third-degree tactic. So he raised his voice at me. He invaded my personal space. He kept asking me the same questions over and over again. And as each hour passed, my fear increased in proportion to the time. He kept that up for 6.5 to 7 hours. Towards the end, he said, "What do you mean you didn't do it? You just told me through the test result that you did. We just want you to confirm it." And then the officer who had been pretending to be my friend, he came in the room and told me that the other officer was going to harm me, but that he was holding them off, but couldn't do so indefinitely, that I had to help myself. And that really shot my fear through the roof. And at that point, I decided to make up a story based on the information which he had given me in the course of the interrogation, the 6 weeks run up to it. Well, I was in fear of my life. The fact that I didn't know where I was and no one else did either loomed quite large in my mind. And then I was overwhelmed emotionally and psychologically. So by the time it was all said and done, I collapsed on the floor in a fetal position, crying uncontrollably. And obviously, I was arrested. I was charged with a murder and rape.
Wow. So I have a 17-year-old son. I couldn't even begin to even imagine. Anthony, you got I can see the question looming on your lips. What you got there, brother?
I'm just listening right now. It's a familiar story to me, though. Very familiar story.
Yeah, I want to share that, that listeners may think that, an innocent person would never falsely confess, but it has caused wrongful convictions in 25% of the DNA proven wrongful convictions. And particularly vulnerable populations are people with mental health issues and youth. So let me explain how I got convicted at the trial. That's how I got arrested, but there's more to it than that in terms of the conviction. So before the trial started, shortly before that, the DNA result came in from the FBI lab, and it showed that semen in the victim didn't match me. But rather than acknowledging they made a mistake, they continued to prosecute full speed ahead. So the prosecutor got this medical examiner to commit fraud. So 6 months after doing this autopsy, hundreds of autopsies later, once the DNA didn't match me, he suddenly claimed that he forgot to document medical evidence, which he said showed that the victim had been promiscuous, which is what opened the door for the prosecutor to argue that it didn't matter that the semen didn't come from me. It didn't mean I was innocent, that she might have slept with yet another person. Taking it a step further, he mentioned another youth by name that he claimed that had slept with the victim, but he never tried to prove that. He never had a DNA test result performed. He never called another youth as a witness. He just made the unsupported argument to the jury. So the victim's family was not coming to court. So they had no idea of what was being said about her in the courtroom. At the same time, my attorney essentially didn't defend me. He never called my alibi witness. I was actually playing wiffle ball when the crime happened. In addition to that, he rarely met with me. Whenever he would meet with me and I would tell him what happened in the interrogation room, he was always shutting me up. One time he told me he didn't care if I was guilty or innocent. He never cross-examined the medical examiner. He never explained to the jury the significance of the DNA not matching me. He never used that to argue that it proved that the confession was coerced and false. Sometimes he argued to the jury that the confession never happened. Other times he was arguing that it happened, but it was coerced. And still other times he was arguing that it happened, but it was false. So by taking that scattershot approach, he had to have been standing there in front of the jury with no credibility at all. The interrogation was not videotaped or audio taped. There was no signed confession. It was just the cop's word for it. But as a result of that, the cops left the threat and false promise out of their story. And when you added it up all together, I was wrongfully convicted, and I was given a 15 to life sentence, where the judge sentenced me, even though he said, maybe you are innocent.
The judge said that. Maybe you are innocent. I don't know, but fuck it. I'll send you to jail anyway.
Yes.
That like it's okay to make that statement when you're like smelling the milk in the refrigerator. You're like, it's today's date, I'm okay with it. Not when it's a human life. Like, now, Jeffrey, and the documentary doesn't get fully into this, and I guess the longer version will.
Right, it will.
How did your family like approach this? Like, what was your, we hope our mothers and our fathers stand by us, and I know your father's situation, but what was your mother, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins? What were they all saying?
What, once I was convicted?
Yes. Even as you were being charged and arrested through the entire process.
The trial, all that. Yeah.
Okay. So in general, they all believed me. I mean, I did have one uncle that was in law enforcement, and the cops managed to convince him that I was guilty, and his daughter thought that. But outside of those two, everybody believed in my innocence. But that really didn't translate into them helping me on any level, particularly once I was convicted. So, the overwhelming majority of my extended family never came to see me, so they didn't really help me on the morale level. My mother was my only consistent visitor. That's usually the case when people are incarcerated. But the last 5 or 6 years, I would see her like I would be lucky if I saw her once every 6 months. My brother, who's 3.5 years younger than me, he came to see me 3 times in 16 years, not at all in the last decade. My grandmother used to come with my mother, but then she passed away. And then I had several sets of aunts and uncles. They would come, disappear for 3 years, come, disappear for 3 years, and that would be it. So in a lot of ways, though not literally, I really did the time by myself. So they didn't really help morale wise. There were several times when my mother made rounds amongst the family and asked everybody to do a manageable amount of money so that I could hire the necessary legal services I needed to try to get exonerated, and people declined to participate in that.
Wow. Folks, I know there's about 9 of you out there watching right now. If you have questions, please, I'll tell you, Jeffrey is a open book to this. He is. I have some questions based on watching the documentary that I've really wanted to ask. I hope some of them aren't too.
No, I'm very open, transparent. Feel free and ask whatever you'd like.
Well, so one of the questions I did have, and Anthony, get your question ready because I can see that brain rocking out.
I have so many, but yeah, I don't even know where I want to go to begin.
So my first question, and this isn't, it has to do with you being so quiet and not being socially adjusted. Were you ever tested to be on the spectrum?
The spectrum of
like an autism spectrum, like Asperger's, anything like that?
No, I was not. But let me just share one thing in terms of that. So yes, you're correct. I was quiet to myself, but that was in school. Outside of school, in the apartment complex where I lived at, I was one of the kids that was kind of like the life of the party in the sense that whatever I would suggest would be what we would do. So if that's riding bikes, play Monopoly, we're going to play basketball, or we're going to go swimming or go play video games. But that was amongst my peers. The kids in the school, were a little bit older than me because I had skipped a grade, really early. And so I wasn't.
Oh, wow.
So I wasn't into drinking beer and parties and chasing girls and doing organized sports. So there was that dichotomy of life there. So I just wanted to round out the picture of me at that point.
So you were actually at an early age, you were an intellectual, because if I remember right from the documentary, you and this young lady 3 days prior to her missing were working on a project.
Well, no, I did not work on any projects with her. Let me just mention that she was in 2 of my classes as a freshman, 1 as a sophomore. I mean, again, I knew her name, she knew mine, but we were not even really on a high-buy basis.
Okay, I thought that's my fault, folks. Delete that out. That was my fault. I thought I picked that up from the documentary. We'll scratch that out.
No worries, it's fine.
My question was how exactly were you connected to her, and why did they connect you to this woman, this girl?
Yeah. So she was in 2 of my classes as a freshman, 1 as a sophomore. that was really it. We didn't. So I think again. I mean, the kids in the school put me on the police radar by them suggesting to the police when they interviewed a lot of students from the school. The police said some of them told them that they might want to talk to me because I was, quiet and to myself, and the police thought my emotional reaction was suspicious, that was somehow uh some sort of outward sign that I was sorry for something.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I missed something. That's all it was. Just that you had reacted poorly in their opinion, and that somebody said you were quiet. That's what put them on to you and connected them
Yes.
to you raping her. That's very interesting.
Yeah, and I'm going to just add for context as well that I got to I mean I went and going to the wake and the funeral, and there was a general invitation made to anybody that was at the interment that they wanted to go back to the family's house and have some coffee. There was pastries, so myself and a lot of other people took them up on that, and so I got to know the family a little bit that way, and they had preserved her bedroom in the last way it was prior to her going out and being murdered and raped, and so that kind of brought things to another emotional level.
So you felt like you basically knew this person and
a little bit more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, yeah.
So you spend what would be for any of us the 16 most formative years. This is, your dating years, your years of, doing dumb shit, for lack of better.
Rites of passage as well. Yeah.
Rites of passage, all those kind of things that we all did at that time, you did behind bars. What was that? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so to crystallize it, well, first of all, I would describe prison as a nonstop obstacle course featuring the guards, civilians, and other prisoners as obstacles to the main goal, which was to overturn the conviction, regain your freedom. So it was very violent there. It was dangerous there. I had to keep fighting off feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, thoughts of giving up, suicidal ideation. But beyond that, when I was released, and it was particularly hard to reintegrate because I had never lived on my own before. I had not had a driver's license. I never had to go shopping before, write a check, balance a budget. So all those things made things particularly difficult for me. In terms of what I lost, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to the prom. I didn't finish education at a traditional age. I wasn't well into a career, possibly on my way to financial freedom, maybe having a family. So births, deaths, weddings. So all those things are really incalculable.
Now, in the documentary, folks, you'll find this out and you'll see. And I don't want to give too much away because I really want people to watch this. But one of the things that struck me that I was curious about is you didn't go to a juvenile facility.
No, I did not.
So you went at now how like when we say 16, like how big this might sound like a stupid question, but how big a boy are you there, Jeffrey? Like, are you 6'8", 250? Like, are you grown man size at 16 years old, or are you like just out of Underoos and Scooby Doo?
Yeah, the latter. So, again, I was 16 when I was arrested, and then the time the trial happened, which I lost. I turned 17. So, at 17 years old, I went into the men's maximum security prison. I'm 5'10", 150 pounds. Kid from the suburb that's barely had a fight in his life.
So did they ever give you a reasoning why you were convicted as an adult?
Well, I've been charged as an adult. So in New York State, as well as certain other states, they have laws where for certain offenses, mainly murder and rape, that they could charge you as an adult, and sentence you as an adult, which really doesn't make sense because, as when you're not an adult, your brain's not fully formed. You're more spontaneous. You're more susceptible to peer pressure, not thinking the long term consequence of things out. So, I mean, if you think about how somebody was at 16 or 17, and then think maybe when you're 25 or 30. I mean, did you think the same? I mean, I think the obvious answer is no. Just for some context.
And I want to put this out for everyone who's watching right now, who might be getting upset. Let me explain something to you. None of this is anti-police.
Right.
No, Anthony. None of this is anti-law, any of that. What I want people to understand and see in all this is that there's more to certain things. There's certain policies. Jeffrey's case, and I don't know if you know about this or not, there's a judge in Pennsylvania, and I've referenced this guy many times. He's a real piece of work. He's currently serving a very, very long sentence because he was involved with corporate prisons, which I am very anti-corporate prison. And he was involved with a corporate prison and would send kids like Jeffrey getting caught with a dime bag, which in Pennsylvania, possession of marijuana, and would send them to jail for 6 months at a time, which is the maximum you can get. First offenders, 6 months. So it's amazing. And Davinia is an old friend of mine, and she's right. This is about justice. We want to make sure that justice is being served. And I don't know how I feel about this one, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Can you read this one right here, Jeffrey?
Yes. Wow. Jeffrey, thank you for sharing your story. You are a hero on many levels.
That's my wife. So I don't know how I feel about she's flirting with you right now. We might have to talk about this. We might have to discuss this. You're getting some feedback, kickbacks from imprisoned children. Absolutely. And Davinia is in PA. So in all this, what was your, and I want to get to the outside here in a minute, but what was your survival mechanism? Like,
yes,
what was it?
Yeah, so it was all of these things this is what helped me get through the 16 years in prison. So belief in God was one thing. Another thing was I thought I was just doing a year or two to the next appeal, which I was sure I was going to win because I was innocent and still believe in the system. I studied the law, and that gave me a sense of comfort. I used to read articles about other people who were exonerated, and I used that as inspiration to keep going. From 1998 to 2006, I read 3 or 4 nonfiction books a week.
Wow.
I oriented everything I did in prison to having some kind of potential benefit for the outside. So I kept my mind occupied in that way. There was another wrongfully convicted prisoner there named Frank Sterling, and we kept each other going for 13 and a half years. So once every 6 weeks, we would meet up in the yard and try to keep going morale-wise and brainstorm about what the next move was to make. And he actually was exonerated a couple of years after me through DNA. A pen pal responded to an ad in my last year or two. And I mean, he seemed to show up at the nick of time because I was openly asking him, look, should I quit? Should I give up? Should I just commit suicide? I'm never getting out of here. So he was certainly a factor. And I did engage in an elaborate delusion when I would play basketball or play chess or play ping pong. I would pretend like if I was a professional player, and so were the other people, and but it wasn't like kids fantasizing on a playground. This was that I needed to get out of the prison for a couple of hours mentally, and I would listen to sports talk radio, but it's not sports talk radio. It's a lifeline. It's a connection to the outside. And while my TV stayed off in my cell most of the time because I was writing letters, doing legal work, and reading nonfiction books, to the extent it turned on, and I watched certain programs each week at certain times, I pretended like if I was visiting with friends. So another delusion, and I cut out pictures of nature scenes, and you can hang them up in a certain part of the cell wall, and I would travel there mentally a little bit. And so I would try to hold on to humanity a little bit in that way as well.
You got any questions, Anthony? Because I'm on this one. What do you
Go
got,
ahead.
Anthony? So now you say hold on to humanity. At what? So did you ever? What was? And this is probably again. What did you see in there? Because I know, and again, this comes up in the documentary. You talk about the elderly, the sick, people who have been in. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So look, in the document I mentioned, I saw elderly prisoners, and I saw, some of whom were sick, and prison medical care was terrible in general. Certainly not capable of taking care of the elderly, whose advanced medical needs. Then there were people that were literally pushed around in wheelchairs and walking with canes and hunched over and on dialysis. It didn't seem to me that anything positive was going to result in continuing to incarcerate them. I saw people over sentence. There were people walking around doing 20 and 30 years for drug possession, and they had more time than people that had committed assaults and murders and other crimes of violence. And that was backwards to me. And just to see the level of violence as amongst the prisoners, and the staff really didn't make any kind of earnest effort at stopping that. A prisoner reentry, there wasn't much reentry services, parole reform, solitary confinement, people returning back to prison for a year, sometimes two, on some silly technical parole violation. So they're supposed to be in the house at 8 o'clock, and they actually got there at 8:05 or 8:10. So all this craziness, and then the verbal abuse by the guards to the prisoners, and so and even compassionate release. If you're determined to be terminally ill by the prison medical team, you can apply for compassionate release, that you can die with a little bit of dignity while free with friends and family in a normal environment. And just to see the bureaucracy, and by the time they would make the decision, I saw that people would die within a day or two, or sometimes a decision would come after people were already passed away. And so when I saw all of those things, and that's why, and this is one of my proudest moments about Conviction, using the platform that Gia gave me in that documentary, to shed some light on the overall justice system issues that need reforming beyond the innocence.
Now, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate, though.
Sure.
And this is for you, Jeffrey. My beautiful bride, I got a problem here. She's already telling you that she thinks you're a hero, and you see what she brought downstairs to me?
Oh wow, that's the same kind of drink that I'm drinking here. These
there's something going on here. So her and I may have to talk afterwards. She's sending you nice messages, and now she's bringing blue hugs down for you. So I don't know about what this is all about here. So we're gonna have to figure that one out. but so that little devil's advocate for a moment, though, is you've got somebody who has already, they've committed whatever their heinous crime was.
Okay.
And this is normally what we drink on the show, but I've gotten into something else here. But you're talking about sometimes people who have committed heinous crimes, like they're up at 5-star. And for those who don't know or not 5-star, but 5 Point in New York State, 5 Point prison is the highest security prison in the state of New York. There's serial killers locked up in there. There's the worst of the worst. Where do you think the line should be drawn, though? Guys, in there for life. He's 80, 85 years old. He's, terminally ill with a cancer or whatever. Does that person still need to be let out? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand the question?
I do understand the question. Yeah. So with respect to somebody being terminally ill, I think it's safe to say that in general, when somebody is terminally ill, they're not a threat to society anymore. I think allowing them to die with a little bit of dignity. Remember, this is a determination by the prison medical team, not him or her own doctor. So there's no getting over in it. And what do we need as a society? Do we need to have the ultimate revenge? Do we have to have them pass away while they're in there? At some point, if you're terminally ill, enough is enough. And in terms of the mistreatment and the abuse of the system that I reference, remember the key concept is this: is that people are sent to prison as punishment, meaning that the punishment is the loss of your freedom. It's not supposed to be that the punishment is being mistreated while there. You know, and and dehumanization should not be, but too often is an option in the prison system, and that's disturbing to me.
Well, do you know the numbers? And if you don't, we can all go look at it. But do you know the numbers offhand of wrongfully, or not wrongfully accused, but returned to prison? Like people who, like you said, like we have a system that does nothing. And for those of you who didn't know this, and Jeffrey, tell me if I got this.
What you're asking about?
What's that, Anthony?
Reincarceration rates.
Reincarceration, right? But this is something that I don't know how many people know this. I know Jeffrey probably does. I know Anthony does. He doesn't do anything but sits in the basement and looks up all the conspiracies. I know he does. His wife just laughed at him. But the corporate, if those who didn't know it, the corporate prison system in America is the largest lobbying group, period. No larger. It's not education. It's not food. It's not any rights groups. It is the prison system in the United States is the largest lobbying group, corporate prisons. And I believe I actually saw it on your documentary about, God, I think it was yours, where they talk about the fact that they go into these small towns, they chase out the businesses, they go in, they wait till they die off, and then they go, "Hey, we'll put a prison in your town. We'll employ all these people." And matter of fact, we're all of you. Come on, your families, your aunts, your uncles, everybody. And then that same textile industry that was probably already in that town that everybody was making good money on, that was gone, is now. Listen to me, dog. I don't want to hear you. And now that textile industry is being made by people that are incarcerated for pennies on the dollar. And that McDonald's uniform that you see somebody wearing was made by an inmate for pennies on the dollar. Did you experience anything like that, Jeffrey, or was it in See, I don't know much about New York State as far as that.
So New York State did have industry. I mean, prisoners were making license plates and manholes for the state, and that was pennies on the dollar. And there were certain industries that came into the prison and, employed the prisoners, but they were making like maybe $20, $30, $40 every 2 weeks. I mean, it was not even close to minimum wage at all. So I did see that type of exploitation. And in terms of the national recidivism rate, it is a 68% recidivism rate naturally. Now, in contrast with that, so Hudson Link is a nonprofit that brings college education to some of the prisons in New York State, and their recidivism rate, I'm citing this as an example of positive impact of college education, 2% recidivism rate. And it really,
Wow.
and it makes sense, because if you equip a prisoner with tools to obtain gainful employment and you broaden their horizon, they have a much better rate at a much better possibility of obtaining gainful employment, which reduces the risk, the temptation to return back to crime. Because remember, some crimes are economic crimes as well.
What do you mean by economic crimes?
People sell drugs and rob and steal because they are locked out of gainful employment. They don't have opportunities. And so what I'm saying is, when someone's released with a record and they're not educated, they have no skills either, the temptation to return back to doing wrong. Okay. And it is wrong. No one's excusing it, but I'm trying to put it in the context. possibility of them reoffending, and then again us paying money into tax money being spent to incarcerate them rather than them paying into the tax base. That's the dynamic that happens.
It's just incredible to me. I mean, your story is a story of survival. Now, you were released at what, 32 years old, right?
Correct.
There's a scene in the documentary where you talk about that you were done. You had given up. Is there any way, and if you can't, I get it, that you could help us understand what that emotion was like as the woman was telling you, no, you're going home tomorrow? What was that like?
Yes. I was at the point that I couldn't, I was afraid, I couldn't hope anymore. I was afraid to hope because it hurts too much. So every time I was, denied an appeal or denied parole or sent a letter out and didn't get a response or got a no, in a way that was almost like I was wrongfully convicted all over again. And so by the end, I no longer had any hope. And so my lawyer came and she told me, well, the items have been tested. So first of all, I'm on the lookout for anything, any kind of irregularity, because I've lost a few appeals on technicalities already. One time I lost in federal court because the court clerk gave my lawyer the wrong information on the filing procedure. Did you want to say anything, Anthony?
Well, I want to make sure, but before we get to that, I assume that when you were first convicted, you no longer had the same attorney, right? You got rid of that for your next appeals.
Correct.
Okay. So at what point did this new attorney that's now helping you get out come into the picture? I guess start there for me.
Yeah. So she came in around in year 15. That's maybe like 15 years and 4 months into the picture. She came in the picture. I had a different attorney for the appeals, just like I had a different attorney from that attorney in the federal court. So then she comes in at the end.
Other attorneys argue, ineffective counsel pretty much from the other ones, or
no, nobody fought. No, the ineffective assistance of counsel was not argued. It should have been.
Okay.
But it was not. But the attorney I had for my state appeals, for example, filed 10 issues of law. She filed 10 issues. I mean, she argued I was innocent based on the DNA and that my rights had been violated by the way I'd been questioned and that my right to fair trial had been violated by the judge repeatedly allowing the polygraphist to tell the jury that I failed the polygraph. By them throwing the evidence out. I mean, the victim's clothes were entered into evidence. The jury asked to see one of the items, and that's when the judge said the items had been thrown out by the orderly. Yeah, they asked to see a bra, and that correlated to one of the statements they coerced out of me, which I said that I ripped a bra off, and you can't rip bras off of some bras. You can't. So when the jury asked to see it, we thought, well, they're thinking the right way. Maybe they're going to realize you can't pull this thing off. They're going to conclude this confession is coerced and false, and I'm going to be found not guilty. But that's when the judge announced, well, that the evidence had been left in the courtroom over the weekend, and that the custodians apparently thought it was garbage and they threw it out.
I'm just mind boggled by this.
That sounds like a key piece of evidence that would pretty much get anything at all thrown out immediately.
Right. I agree with that, but the judge would not give a mistrial. He wouldn't give a mistrial. So yeah, all those things. But my point, I brought that in because we were talking about giving an example of how I was on the alert for anything unusual happening.
Right.
Because when the court clerk gave my lawyer the wrong information about filing procedure in federal court, that resulted in my petition arriving 4 days too late, which the then Westchester DA's office, Janine Pirro was the DA, and she argued that they should just rule that I was late without getting to my issues, and that's what the court did. And then the next three courts, including the Federal Court of Appeals, where future U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor was one of the judges, they signed off on that ruling. So those are all my examples of being basically screwed by technicalities. So when the lawyer said the items have been tested, and this a month ahead of time, my antennas went up, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? No, it's not. It's not supposed to be tested for another month." And she says, "Yeah, no, the DA got the items tested, and it matched the actual perpetrator. You're going home tomorrow." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "No, I'm not." And for the next 3.5 hours, I had this mental paralysis. So she literally had to sit there and hold my hand. And my thoughts were like spinning. And one thought, and I was articulating all these thoughts going through my head. And one thought had nothing to do with the other. And she's just sitting there taking it in. And every now and then she'd break in and say, "Are you ready to talk about tomorrow?" I'm like, "No, no, no. We're not talking about tomorrow. Get that the hell away from me. I'm not entertaining that. This hurts too much. No." And then I'd go back on it. And every now and then she'd keep doing the same. And finally, what made it real at the end was she said, "Look, the visit's almost over. There's a ton of work to do between today and tomorrow. I need to get your shoe size, your pant, your clothes, your suit size, and everything. And by the way, where was your favorite restaurant? Where would you like to eat?" And so all of that.
Wait, what was the restaurant? Come on now. What was the restaurant?
The restaurant was Graziella's. It was in White Plains, and I had mussels with Fra Diavolo sauce. I had a side of baked ziti. The cheese was kind of melting, and I had a little bit of Neapolitan ice cream. It was great.
Oh, you had me up to the Neapolitan. You had me.
Well, they didn't serve Neapolitan, for the record. They had chocolate and vanilla or strawberry. So I said, throw it all in a dish together. But that's what made it.
I'm smiling for you, Jeff. I'm
Yes,
smiling for you.
I get it. Sure.
God, please go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so excited. Like hearing your story. I'm excited for you. Please keep going. Wait a sec. That's a third hug. What are you doing here? You're on your third one. Slow down. You're going to get diabetes.
Keep the hugs coming. Keep the hugs coming. Okay. I'm liking the hugs here. So, even though there may be some problems after the show, but that's that. And I'm caught up in the here and now. All right. So, continuing on. So, that made it real for me. But of course, about 5 minutes after that, a different fear came through my head, which was, something's going to happen between today and tomorrow, and the DA is going to change her mind, and I'm not going anywhere, So that's what that was. But listen, the happy story continues on. I mean, my life post exoneration, which I assume we'll get to it.
Yes, that's next. I want to talk about that.
Yes.
And Davinia says she's got a Graziella's down by her in Philadelphia, so near her mom. So it might be the same place. But she's in Philly. She'll tell me in a minute. But I'm just so post incarceration. You're out. I am curious about something, and I don't need a number, but we always hear these stories of people being released and there being some type of financial reimbursement by the state. Were you given anything like that? Like there was a recent one. What was it? Like $15 million for a wrongful incarceration?
Yeah, so I was given financial compensation, but you have to file a lawsuit. That's a process. It took me 5 years before I got anything. So I was released with nothing. So I didn't have a consent. I was not able to get gainful employment. I was making money doing presentations. That's not a consistent form of income. I was a weekly columnist, but they only wanted one article a week. So I lacked stability of housing, nearly ended up in a homeless shelter. Mercy College, which gave me the scholarship to finish the bachelor's because they had cut funding for the college education for prisoners. They allowed me to live on campus. And so that's how I avoided that. But, the world was much different. Technology, so cell phones, GPS, internet hadn't been created. Cities and towns the buildings and everything didn't look the same. People had moved out as well. The culture was different. So it felt like I was in a parallel world, one that I didn't belong to. Stigma, having been in prison for 16 years, yes, but wrongfully, but there for 16 years. So how much of that rubbed off on you? Is it safe to be alone someplace with you? Psychological after effects to PTSD. I had to overcome PTSD, panic attacks, anxiety, feeling of processing things at a slower speed, and a feeling of having been frozen in time. So all those things were my challenges, and as I mentioned, I never lived alone. But despite all of that difficulty for 5 years, I nonetheless did embarked on an advocacy career. So I was speaking, I was writing, I was meeting with elected officials, I was doing media interviews, and after about 5 years, I was financially compensated, and that really changed a lot of things for me. It took a lot of the mental pressure off, and I was finally able to know that I was able to pay my bills. Which is a relief. And I decided that I wanted to continue that advocacy work, but take it up a notch. I wanted to be involved in freeing people who are wrongfully imprisoned. So I use a portion of the money to start the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation for Justice. And we've been able to free 10 people. We've been able to help pass 3 laws. We're part of a bigger coalition called It Could Happen to You, which I'm a advisory board member of. And we were able to pass an additional 4 laws as well. So, I make sense of everything. My purpose in the world is to do this. It's to fight wrongful conviction and for broader justice reform. And I have an inner peace. I have a sense of purpose. I'm not angry because I want to enjoy my life as much as I can. I can't do that if I'm angry or bitter. I've lost so much already. Why do I want to, in effect, give over the rest of my life? And it's not like I'd be adversely impacting any of the people involved in what happened if I was angry or bitter. So I would really be the only loser in that scenario. And the vehicle that allows me to actualize that is I take that energy and I channel it into the advocacy work. I did get master's degree, and my thesis is on wrongful conviction causes and the reforms. Because, look, I might be motivated by what happened to me, but I'm an advocate, and I'm not simply just an exoneree. And at some point, I decided to go to law school as I wanted to represent some of the client myself and make some of the arguments. So, in pursuit of the dream of exonerating others, I did become an attorney.
Very nice.
You heard that right, folks? It's Esquire at the end of his name. He is Jeffrey Esquire. He is gone from at 16 years old, wrongly convicted. He should be a statistic. He should be like bitter as can be. Jeanette, who is super fan and we love her to death, you answered her question perfectly why you're not bitter at all this. He has an Esquire at the end of his name. Jeffrey, I when I watched that on the documentary, I was rooting for you, brother.
Wow.
For those of you that have not, please go see this documentary. Gia's going to sent me a message earlier. She was like, she was so happy that we were talking. Go see this man's story. Now, something that was brought up to me, if you saw some of his messages, Cujo Halstead is a buddy of mine, Tom. That's his undercover brother name. And he showed me a number that kind of blew my mind. Now, when you're dealing with, and here's another one from Rob real quick. Congratulations on your positive attitude. You're an inspiration to so many people that are still in jail. Keep up the good work. Jeffrey, like, you really are, brother. I don't know how else to put it. We are gonna towards the end of this. We are gonna get a little more lighthearted because I want to know about some of the first things that you did, some of the first other stuff that you were like, son of a bitch, this exists. I wasn't here when I left. What happened to He-Man? I need to know about those things also. But Jeffrey or Tom threw out some numbers to me. Do you focus on any particular group that are incarcerated? So, like, currently, since the Supreme Court in 72 said that no more federal executions, it's wrongful, there's been something like 185 people that were executed that, if I understood the numbers right, that were sent to me, that DNA evidence has shown they shouldn't have been. They should have been exonerated. They said it wasn't them, but for whatever the reason was, they were executed. Is there a particular group that you focus on with your organization? Like, hey, these guys are going to die. we need to work with them, or we're more concerned about, here in New York State in that state level? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, so we're right now in terms of our current capacity. We take cases primarily in New York. I mean, my ultimate dream is to have a office in each state and ultimately in each country. I see this as a world wrongful conviction as a worldwide issue, but primarily we're doing New York cases. We have a few in other states, but we would need to be able to work with an attorney that was local, or unless it was a DNA case that can be done by remote control. So per the National Registry of Exonerations, we have there have been since 1989 2,796 people who have been exonerated. That's overall both death penalty and non-death penalty cases. But remember, those are the ones that have made it out. I mean, there's a Wayne State study that estimates 10,000 people are wrongfully convicted each year. In terms of my opinion of the percentage of wrongfully convicted prisoners, I think that the number is 15 to 20%. Now, other people are saying smaller, 5%, 2.5%, 1%, 0.5%. But the anecdotal evidence seems to be flowing my way. There's a lot of exonerations happening seemingly every other day. So I do think that the number is closer to what I'm saying. I mean, there were 19 people that I did time with that were exonerated either before me or after me. So that's the wrongful conviction picture.
19 is a pretty big number for one place.
Yeah, one state. I mean, I did most of my time in Elmira, but I also did time in a little bit. I did 1.5 years in Shawangunk, and I did the last 28 days in Sing Sing.
Ossining. Train runs straight through it.
Yes, it does. That's right. The expression, you're going up the river.
Yep. Milepost 30, I believe. Tom will fix me. But it's like milepost 30 runs through. And if you ever are on the train tracks, you can see like these archways that are all bricked up.
And the towers.
Yep. You see the towers. You see the playground. There's a playground at Sing Sing, folks. If you don't know what Sing Sing is, look it up. Ossining, New York. It's an odd place. So not only is there a playground directly next to the prison, Jeffrey, when was the last time you were over that way?
Recently, actually. So there's a playground right behind the prison. There's actually a tower, a prison tower that's there. So you can actually see that, and you can look across and see the and see the fence and the barbed wire, and it's bizarre to see it, but I would encourage everybody to do it.
What's even more bizarre to me is if you stand right there and see, I told you Tom would fix me. Milepost 30.9. I just left the railroad on Sunday. He's qualifying on everything. This past Sunday was my last day on the railroad. I decided to make a move. But if you stood in that parking lot and looked at the Hudson River, to the left is Ossining. To your right is like $400,000 condos. Like just beautiful big condos that look over the river. They're beautiful. And they're like $400,000.
The prison is right there, smack dab in the middle of the city. I mean, it's a public road on the outside of the prison. You literally are allowed, and I have done this a few times. You are allowed to drive your car literally around the prison. That's all a public road, and there are houses up on one of the streets there. I forgot the name of the street off the top of my head, but you can the houses are up a little bit higher than the prison. The prison faces it, and if you're on the second floor, you can look out over the prison wall and into the prison yard.
It's wild. So now I got one more question, and then I want to talk about a little lighter stuff if we still got time.
Yeah, sure. I'm good.
So now the one question is what happened to the beard there, Jeffrey? What happened to the beard?
Yeah, so eventually
you had a fucking epic beard on the way out of prison. I saw this son of a bitch.
Yes, I did. I did have the beard, and look, I practiced the Islamic faith while I was incarcerated.
I knew it.
For 15.5 years, and I practiced for 1.5 years on the outside. And look, eventually, we're all major religions, right? Islam included, but not limited. They try to be nice about it, okay? But they believe in heaven and hell. At the end of the day, right? The believers go to where? To heaven, right? And the people who
Right.
don't go to hell. Okay.
Right.
And so I came across so many good people who were dedicated advocates. Some people were Christian or Jewish or Buddhist and Hindu, no formal faith at all, and some were Muslim as well. And I couldn't dismiss people based on whatever their religious views were. And so I've morphed around to what I am now. So I believe in God generally. I don't put a label to it, and whatever someone believes, if that works for you, if that gives you a sense of peace and that helps you to understand where you are in the world, hey, do it. And if it works its way into the normal course of our conversation, bring it out. But beyond that, don't need to try to convert me or wear it on your sleeve. And so that's where I am now. So I've kind of evolved in that way. And so
I
that's
was so curious about that, Jeffrey. I was so curious because when you came out, I was like, that reminds me of a Nation of Islam beard. It
well, no.
so did.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nation of Islam, that would be, like Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad. I mean, I was an Orthodox Muslim in terms of the in the beard, but yeah, it certainly does remind people of Muslims, and that's what the beard. That's a tenet of the faith. But I do want to mention one thing just before we transition to lighter topics. In terms of our foundation's current work, we are currently working on. We have 10 cases that are active. We are pushing policy campaigns. So in New York, California, and Pennsylvania. So I'm going to give you Pennsylvania a reference in a minute. So in
Good.
New York, we're trying to get rid of the exceptions to videotaping interrogations. In terms of California, we are trying to get rid of the death penalty in California because the obvious risk of executing people are innocent. Larry Swearingen, Sedley Alley were both executed while not being given DNA testing. Same for Liddell Lee. He was the DNA recently showed that it didn't match him. So we're trying to get rid of the death penalty in California. We want to have the independent oversight for the prosecutors in Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania has the dubious distinction of being one of 14 states that does not currently have exoneree compensation. So that's our main thing we're working on now. We're trying to build support for something as simple as exoneree compensation. So if you're in the Pennsylvania state and you want to contact your senators or assembly people and let them know that you are in support of exoneree compensation. And of course, we want to have the oversight for the prosecutors. But right now, what we're focusing most on is the compensation. And you'd think it'd be a no-brainer. Last year, completed a year and a half of effort where we got the legislature to pass the bill that would expunge records. So you had people who were exonerated of crimes that they didn't commit. They were exonerated in court, but they still had a criminal record, which was hindering them for employment. And
hold on, Jeffrey.
So that was actually going to be my question to you: is when you got exonerated, did you get yours taken care of, or was still on your record?
No, that was taken care of for me in New York, but in Pennsylvania, that was not the situation. So we had to have legislation that was passed. So we do have a broader coalition in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, it can happen to you, and so
exactly.
That's what it's called, and it's broad. We're welcome. We take on everybody. Look, we have exonerees, people falsely accused but acquitted, friends and family, people who allege they're wrongfully in prison, criminal justice reform organizations, individual advocates, everyday concerned citizens that want to make a difference. So we have a statewide coalition there. We're always looking to build that, and we have non-traditional partners. I mean, we like in a coalition chapter in New York, which I'm active in New York, Pennsylvania, California. When we had success in New York, we had a lot of non-traditional partners. So we had labor unions and teachers unions and people in hotel and restaurant. I mean, maybe the wildest group in Pennsylvania that's part of our coalition that made a positive impact on us recently when we were in the Pennsylvania legislature. They came and joined and participated in some of the meetings. They have Bikers for Justice in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it was so cool. They'll have the things that it says Bikers for Justice, and they came with us to the legislature, and we're meeting with some of their elected reps. So look, we accept people to come in and work with us in coalition, strengthen numbers, and it's harder for them to ignore us that way.
Well, you know what the nickname for Pennsylvania is, right there, Jeffrey?
Tell me. No,
Do you know it, Anthony?
Say it again.
Pennsyltucky. It's Pennsyltucky.
Yeah.
What is that? That's going over my head now.
Pennsyltucky. So
I need to know the
Pennsylvania.
hug. I need to know the hug, by the way.
Yeah,
Right?
I need to look. I'm trying to figure out who's feeding you these hugs right now. I saw her earlier when you were still in the green room. I saw her sneak in. But Pennsyltucky, because if I lived in Pennsylvania for a long time, you get outside of Pittsburgh or Philadelphia or Harrisburg, it is a country ass state. It is country. Like, there's an area of Pennsylvania. I used to recruit out of there. I recruited out of Pennsylvania. Out of my 20 years in the Marine Corps, 12 years on recruiting, I spent from 2001 to 2009 in Pennsylvania. There are areas where they call them coal crackers. That's just coal crackers or coal miner country.
Okay.
Coal crackers. You will go through areas where entire sides of mountains are desolate because they have been wiped out through mining processes. Nothing against miners. I think it's a great profession. It pays the bills. Don't get it twisted. Go watch Harlan County Wars or Harlan County USA, and you will find out some real crazy shit. But yeah, Pennsylvania is interesting. And then you start getting into very Slavic folks out there. A lot of Polacks out there, Jeffrey.
Well, I am part Polish, and I'm also Czechoslovakian as well. So
look, they would love you out there. You'd be like a friggin' porn star out there. Jeffrey's out there making things happen. But out in Pennsylvania, if you're not from that community, they're very, very suspicious of you. Extremely, extremely suspicious of you.
They keep alive.
What's that?
So they keep the shunning alive.
They keep the shunning alive. Yes. So Jeffrey, I know every one of my people. Let me make sure I hit the right button. There we go. I know every one of my, all four of my fans that are listening to this, everybody who's going to watch this. We all have one thing for you, and that is this. You get that. Absolutely. Anthony. That's for Anthony. Jeffrey. Now we're going to get into it. I want to talk the other side to it.
Yes.
So now obviously we had a good Italian dinner, yes, which is very interesting to me. You told me you're Polish and Slavic. We're not having gołąbki. We're not having pierogi. We're not having any of these things, little sauerkraut, borscht, any of these things.
Well, I
have
a true confession to make at this time. I am also part Italian.
That's 3 parts.
There we go. Well, I'm also part Austrian and German, so we'll round it out.
We'll round that shit right on out here. So what was the one thing that when somebody handed it to you after you'd been out and got kind of a little bit settled and somebody handed something to you that you were like, what the hell is this? Was there anything like that?
Well, I think all of the functions on the cell phone were like that. If you think about how many things you can do with the cell phone, you can check emails, text messages, alarm, calendar, surf the net. So just what I was handed, when my lawyer handed me a cell phone at the luncheon, and he said to me, well, there's a reporter who would like to interview you. He could not make the press conference. He'd like to speak to you, and he handed me his cell phone. And I looked up at him like, what the heck is this? and then I asked him, well, where are the holes at to talk into the phone?
Really?
Yeah.
So you didn't even know how to hold it?
No, I did not even know how to hold it. No.
All right. So that was the first item. Was there any?
Yes.
So there's been food trends. There's been food trends since you've been gone. For some reason, like the taco, in the time that it went from Taco Bell in the US, like now we all think we're from Tijuana and we know what the best taco in the world is and all this other BS. And was there any food trends that you were like, what are we eating now? Was there anything like that? And you love it?
Rabbit.
Hassenpfeffer.
Hassenpfeffer. What's Hassenpfeffer? What is
Hassenpfeffer is German for rabbit. If you ever watched Bugs Bunny when we were kids,
yes, I did.
That was when he was always like Hassenpfeffer stew. When I was in the Marine Corps, they used to serve rabbit on the chow line. I've ate rabbit many times in the Marine Corps.
Oh wow!
I don't remember the rabbit trend in the food department,
but I have an item that's really in the spirit of what you're asking me now.
Right.
So that would be clothing style. So
okay.
All right. So right around the time I was wrongfully convicted. So when you would go out to eat dinner, you wouldn't dare. My mother would never allow me to go out with jeans on and a collared shirt. We would instead wear what's now referred to as business casual. But now, if you go out on a date night or something, jeans and a collared shirt is considered to be dressing up. Another aspect of clothes is that I'm used to the socks that are not ankle socks. That they don't come all the way up the shin, but come up above the ankles. They come halfway up the shin. But I initially wore those when combined with shorts, and I looked extremely out of place. And so when I was shopping for clothes, people would say, "Well, what do you like?" I'm like, "Look, don't ask me that."
Orange. I'm very into orange.
If I pick out what I like, okay, I'm gonna look like from another era. Okay, I have zero sense of style. Why don't you just tell me what's trendy, and I'll just get some of that and try not to stick out quite so much.
Tom says, and Tom, I already know Anthony owns this. Jenko jeans and wallet chains. I know he owns it. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Does.
What I love is the fact that Anthony, your wife, is in the background just chiming right in. Do you want to just give her the phone and we'll just hang out with her right now?
She's yelling at me to tell you guys all sorts of stuff. And
did she get her shirt? Did I send her a shirt?
You sent me a shirt, but we did get it, and I have worn it.
Well, you're going to get a shirt too there, Jeffrey. It'll be nowhere near the styles that you're used to. So we know
pretty good shirt, very comfortable.
See, look at that. You'll be comfortable.
Yes.
It'll be like a warm hug for me, Jeffrey.
Oh, that's good. I need hugs. We'll be establishing that. Yeah.
We've established that.
Hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Hey, you said hey.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing. So, keeping it light and everything, so one of the guests who's been, one of the viewers, right? I noticed that he has the same last name as somebody who was wrongfully convicted and exonerated. I know it's not him, but just so Housted, right? So there was 3 people in Nassau County. So John Colgate, Dennis Housted, and John Restivo, who each did 16 years on a murder and rape that they didn't commit, that DNA exonerated them of. So they have the same last name as one of your viewers. So I just wanted to mention that.
So that's my buddy Tom, and he uses Cujo Housestead because he is the biggest troll that I know on the internet. And he's probably one of the smartest guys I know. Anthony, like, if I could just get him to understand, what's this shape, Anthony? What's this shape, Anthony?
You mean
if I could just get Anthony to close this shape in and understand what a circle is.
Oh,
Anthony
I know circles, but that's not a circle.
It's a whole nother conversation we're not getting into.
And by the way,
we're not doing it, Anthony. We're not doing it, Anthony. Jeffrey, we're not doing it. That's a whole nother subject. We'll bring you back on, and you can sit there and I'll watch your eyes get about this big each, like those big giant jawbreakers. I love Anthony. He's so much fun to talk to. He sings screamo music. Do you know what that is, Jeffrey?
I've never heard of it. No, tell me what that is.
Anthony, why don't you tell Jeffrey what's? I don't know any other way. It's death metal, but how else would we describe it?
Screamo is something completely different. But
okay, fuck it then. You go ahead.
So death metal is just really aggressive drumming and guitar music. It's like regular metal, but then instead of the singing or something, it really is screaming and growling. It's aggressive form of just yelling and getting it all out there. But it's
well,
people who can't sing like me.
Well, would you say that there's a song actually that was a theme song by the wrestler? Because I watched on Thursday nights one brief comedy relief while I was in there. I liked watching SmackDown, and I would pretend that every punch and kick and body slam was real, all just to enhance my entertainment. And so Randy Orton has this song. It's called Voices, as a theme song. He's not the band, but you come out and it seems like the guy is just aggressively yelling and screaming, and it's kind of a wild message. The guy says, I think the hook of the song, he goes, I hear voices in my head. They talk to me. They understand. They counsel me. Yeah, it's really wild and crazy like that.
Are we on the right page, Anthony?
Does it sound like that might be that genre of music, or am I completely off base?
But
you get a chance there. Spell it out there, Anthony. It's Volug. Spell it out.
That's more like rock music now. It's the stuff.
Okay. But spell out your band's name, Anthony.
VORZUG.
VORZUG.
Go info, the ApollyonGroup.bandcamp.com, all the stuff's there, but nobody going. That's not what I'm here for.
No, but we look, we love you, Anthony. You are so much. You are so great to have on. You've been a great supporter. Tom says it's all snake jazz. I love it. Tom was in a cover band for 9 Inch Nails that actually made money in the whole 9 yards. He's a hell of a musician. I'm lucky I can play the radio. Jeff and I will sit back and watch it. Jeff smiled. For those of you who aren't watching this live, Jeff smiled. Jeff's like, yeah, fuck it. I ain't playing shit. So
I can't listen. I struggle sometimes from working with satellite radio or Sirius. Okay, so I can't manage all the controls there. So that's part of my smile.
I love Jeff. For those of you who don't get to watch this, the live version, or go back and watch, Jeff has an infectious smile. The guy really does. He's just got one of those smiles. You see him smile, you're like, this is a happy dude. For somebody who should be like piss on the world, brother, you got a happy ass smile, and I really appreciate that about you.
I have a question. Have you written a book?
So I've written one. It's 95% done. Just have to finish a little bit stuff having to do with what I've done since I've been home. The issue is that I have not been able to get to date. I have not been able to get a major publishing house that'll publish it. There's a ton of exoneree books out there that have really went nowhere, and I want my book to be read. So I'd rather sit and hold and wait for the right deal, right offer from a major publishing house that can put a budget behind it, market it, set up get the shelf space, the book signing, and ultimately have it made into a movie and maybe other works, a one-man show, maybe a musical. I want to get my story out in as many different forms of art as you can. So maybe someone who's listening is a literary agent or can otherwise help me to get connected with the major publishing house.
So you're making me jump online right now, Anthony. Where the hell's my buddy at? So I have a buddy of mine, and I'll have to find his dumbass, who we had somebody on a couple of weeks ago, did some movies, and let's make this real simple. For anyone who listens, anyone who's viewing this, anyone who gets on this, reach out to your major publishing houses. Make them listen to Jeffrey's story. this is a story that this is your neighbor, this is your friend, this is your coworker's kid. This is somebody who you sit there and say, hey, that's a good kid. He's really smart. That the system has done dirty. There's no other way to put it. I don't know how else to put it. The system has done him dirty. But you know what's amazing about Jeffrey is he's the most positive person I've met in a long ass time. He can be
that's
nasty.
one of the good things is the
That's
positivity.
it, Anthony.
Yeah.
He's so positive. He's such a good person. He's he's so into it all, and he's so happy. Brother, you could be like douchey. You really could. I don't know any other way to put it. You could be really douchey. You could be really turdy. You could be like, F the world, hate you all, y'all ain't shit, give me my money, and then just be talking bad about everyone. But you've done the opposite. You've done exactly the opposite of that. You've gone out and you've found a way to make yourself a positive impact. And I don't know how else to put that, brother, but I'm actually buddy of mine, Nathan, if you're listening, I'm actually sending Nathan a message right now. Nathan's one of these guys that he finds people. You ever meet somebody that just knows people? Have you met anybody like that, Jeffrey?
Sure. Yeah, I've met people. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. And that's Nathan. And he's just a simple dude, just like you, me, everybody else. And I think that let's see if I can get him to come online. Let's see if we can get him to come online real quick. And I don't normally do this. Use that link. Let's see if we can get Nathan to come online. If I can get Nathan to come online, Nathan probably knows somebody that can get your book out. Nathan knows somebody who can make this happen. Let's see if he'll jump on it. He's sending me a message right now. I don't normally do this. I wouldn't do this for most people. He's asking me how long. Quick. I just want him to come online because you know what, Jeffrey? I don't do this often, and if people don't like to hear it, I don't give a shit. Your story is just one that it needs to be told. People need to hear it. People need to understand that. And whenever I hear it, I just think about my own kids, my own son. I between my wife and I, we have 8 kids.
Wow. A lot.
I couldn't imagine. He said, give him 10 minutes. I couldn't imagine I couldn't imagine if something happened and somebody accused one of my children of something like this. And as a dad, I couldn't be able to do something for him. Good Lord, Tom. I messed around, but overall, Jeff is humbling to hear. I don't know if I would have the strength and wisdom to recover from the hand you have been dealt. You are certainly an inspirational, exception to the rule. I will do my best to follow your work, continue to advocate for reform, our broken horror show of a criminal justice. Thank you again for sharing your story to continue to be a force for the betterment of society. Jeff, that's what you're doing, brother. When you read something like that, what comes to mind? I hate to go back to the fucking, we're going to be real serious right now for a moment. But I mean, Jeffrey, when you read that, what do you feel like?
No, it blows my mind for one thing. And another thing is it makes me feel really good. It's affirming, I can feel the warmth and empathy, and that's healing for me, and that's inspirational to me, and that's encouragement that I'm on the right path to keep going keep going in what I'm doing. So it has all those positive aspects to it, and I feel a sense of belonging, man. I feel a sense of belonging, and it's hard to get that feeling in you come back into society.
I got to stay positive for another moment because I said we were going to stay positive. Now I see you drinking the Hugs. Is this your drug of choice?
Yes, it is. Yes, this is one of the. I guess I drank some of these as kids, and believe it or not, those were stuck in some of the terrible brown bag lunches that were served. One of the few things in the jail that were good. So yeah, this is my drug of choice, along with one other thing, which is ice pops.
The old school ice pops.
Yes, exactly. Especially the raspberry flavor. Yes.
You and my 4-year-old would be like buddy. Now, do you still live in New York, right?
I do. I live in the
what area are you in?
Yeah, I live in the Throgs Neck section of the Bronx. I frequently go back to Westchester and sometimes to Peekskill. I semi frequently go to Peekskill, and yeah.
Now, that's so funny that Hugs are your drug of choice. Now, since you've been out, you're over 21. Have we partaken of any alcohol? New York has now legalized marijuana. Don't even want to hear it, Anthony. Any of those things?
No, absolutely not on the marijuana. I'm not judgmental, but it's not something that's for me. So I've never tried marijuana. I've never tried an illegal drug. I will die without ever knowing what it is, what it's like. I have drank. I have a few different types of drinks that I enjoy. Once in a while,
what are we enjoying, Anthony or Jeffrey? What are we enjoying?
So once in a while, I like to have Bailey's. A little Bailey's is nice. I do like to. I enjoy plum wine, but honestly, it's just I go months at a time without necessarily having a drink. For me, I don't have to drink to have a fun time. To me, it's about the people I'm with, where we're at, and what the activity is. And when I have been in nightlife scenes where other people are drinking, sometimes I just have a bottle of water, or I still order something else. And this is going to crack a laugh on your part, and Anthony is going to laugh. I also, I suspect. So I still do sometimes order a Shirley Temple.
Nice. All right. So we got a special guest. I wasn't going to bring Nathan on. So Nathan is from the Dundalk area of Baltimore. Aren't you from Dundalk, Nathan?
No, I'm originally from Carroll County.
Oh, that won't hold that against you. Some of us more important people are from Dundalk. So, Jeffrey, I wanted to introduce you to Nathan. Nathan, Jeffrey, Nathan.
Nice to meet you.
Nathan, hopefully you've been listening. Sometimes you listen. Not all the time do you listen. He's not very good at fantasy football either there, Jeffrey. I just want you to know. Look at that face. That's the face of a man who couldn't pick a football team if it meant his life. I just want you to know that. Admit it, Nathan. You can't beat me in fantasy football.
I can't hear you guys. Can you turn it up?
We can't turn it up. I can't turn it up. You turn yours up. So, Nathan, Nathan, I wanted to introduce
let me
you,
get back in, and I'm gonna leave and come back.
All right. So Nate is when Nathan ever comes back. Nathan is one of these guys that just people love him. People introduce themselves to him. I wanted you to meet him because if there's anybody that comes on my show that I talk to through different things, he's a guy that can introduce you to people. I hope that Anthony, through all his music contacts, and I'm putting this on you, Anthony, will reach out to folks and say, "Hey, you need to find this guy and maybe talk to him about making something happen." Because Anthony has music contacts. We're not gonna put this to stage. You understand that, Jeffrey?
No,
You're not getting on stage.
no. Unfortunately, I realize that I will play to exactly 0 sold out capacity crowds. Okay, I will have no instruments at all. No, I know. I want to share, we do have the foundation in its mission. We do have a Patreon page. So my dream again is, what if 25,000 people were willing to sacrifice $3 to $5 a recurring basis to help us free innocent people. And so to make that happen, and that would increase our capacity. Again, at the states we can do policy work and capacity to free more people. I need to get out of my network. I need to get into the networks of other people. So whether that's social media or whether that's word of mouth, or people that have a much bigger following than I do. I mean, I would love to have somebody like shoot like a 30-second video, or maybe a minute, a little bit about the organization, a little bit about wrongful conviction. Maybe I make a cameo and then a pitch on the Patreon, and then share that on their profile, and just really try to help me blow this out and make an even bigger impact. So I do want to share with everybody that I work maybe 50, 60 hours a week. I don't get paid for that, so 100% of anything that's raised would definitely go to the cause.
This isn't like Goodwill where like 1% goes to a cause and all the rest of it goes to somebody else.
Absolutely not. No. Similarly, in the terms of the Amazon Smile program, where
Right, and we got Amazon, and if you don't see it, folks, and I'll put this on the page. There's your Patreon. Let's get the Amazon Smile going across right now.
Sure. In the Amazon Smile program, so Amazon allows people to register for a charity of their choice. I hope that they select the Jeffrey Deskovic Foundation. And when you do that, Amazon donates a small percentage of your purchase to the organization without it increasing the cost to you at all. And I think Nathan has joined us.
Nathan, can you hear me better now?
What's up? Yes.
I need to introduce you to Jeffrey. Remember you met Patrick W. Cutler?
Yeah.
And he did the movie?
Yeah.
Do you see Jeffrey?
Yes.
Jeffrey was locked up for 16 years for a crime he didn't commit. He's got a book.
Jeez.
I need you to find people to I need your work, brother. I need your help.
I could definitely help you out there. I mean, I know people who can get his story out.
Jeffrey.
Wow, that's great.
There's nobody I know better than Nathan. He is a pit bull. Look at that face. He doesn't know anything about football, but look at that face.
Yeah, you wish.
He can't beat me in fantasy football. He just can't do it. But look at that man. Nathan, Jeffrey, Nathan. I wanted to make this introduction online right now, live on the show. I need you two gentlemen to talk to each other, and I need that to make it happen.
I have people that can definitely help you get your story out.
Thank you. I really would appreciate that. And, I'll pass my number, I hope you'll get it. And I'd love to talk with you offline, but definitely see my biggest challenge in trying to get the book done, or, trying to, get patrons, or even looking for, donors or people who can help the organization's mission is, see, I don't have the network that I would have if I come up in business 10, 20, 30 years. I'm kind of at where
Social media is definitely my platform. I mean,
yeah. So, I mean, I need third parties that can function as connectors to connect me with people. It sounds like you're perfect for that. So, most unexpected surprise tonight, but most grateful and appreciative.
but yeah, I can definitely get your story out.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Jeffrey, I might be just some asshole in my basement, but what's amazing is the people I know. And then Anthony's going to write a song about you, and he's not going to scream about it.
Can you handle that, Anthony? I don't know.
You don't want
not screaming it. I don't know.
Anthony, what state are you in?
I'm in Arizona.
Say we're on the left coast, the right coast. Nathan's back home in Baltimore. He's in Carroll County. He ain't good enough to be from Dundalk, but I mean, we'll take him. But Jeffrey, I can't, I wanted some of my people to come on. We're an interesting bunch. we're a blue collar bunch. I know you're a lawyer and all that now, but I accept you as one of us, as a blue collar kind of guy. Nathan, brother, I appreciate you, man, more than I can ever explain to you.
Definitely. I mean, my people love stories like his to get out and
You make things happen. Nathan has hooked up with some of my other guests to help their causes get out. Patrick W. Cutler with his movie. There's no help for your music here, Anthony. We've got so many stories. You and I, Anthony, you and I got to get back on again. We need a full blown again, because I love Anthony. Anthony's one of my favorite people to talk to. He really is. Like,
my
Anthony
internet
just blows.
cutting out real bad. I didn't hear any of what you guys just said.
I said you're one of my favorite people to talk to.
Oh,
Like,
well,
of all
thank you.
my shows I've done. And Jeffrey,
And
I
got a couple people I want to throw at you too. So make sure you give me your information. We'll put something together for you.
Jeffrey,
Yes.
that's two different people that you would never believe can put you in contact with the right people. When this, as COVID is coming, you got your shots there, Jeffrey? Did you get your shots?
I did not. I've gotten the vaccine yet.
Son of a bitch, Jeffrey. We can't hang out till you get your shot. Damn it. And don't listen to Anthony and anything he has to say. And I don't know what Nathan has to say about him.
I've had them.
Yeah, he's got shots. Shut up, Anthony. I don't want to hear it.
Won't say a word about it.
I don't want to hear a word about it.
I wasn't crazy about it, but I did it. So,
Nathan, check the private chat.
definitely.
So here's what we're gonna do, gentlemen. You're gonna help out Jeffrey. We're gonna get Jeffrey's story out. Jaya, I want to call her Jaya. I don't care. Jeffrey, I've so been used to saying Jaya, and she didn't correct me, so I'm gonna go with it.
That's fine.
I can't go any other way. The documentary is Conviction. If it doesn't break your heart as a person, then you just don't have one. Go on to Amazon Prime. I don't know what else to say. Just it's so amazing to me as I watched it. Make sure you check out. And I pronounce it wrong every time. And Jeffrey's already corrected me. Deskovic.
I mean, my guy Vinny Vegas will definitely promote his story. He does great work. Phenomenal podcaster. I mean,
there's no one better than me.
well, we'll see about that, Sean.
Nathan, there's no one who's a better podcaster than me. They may have more money than me, and they may get more publicity, but I'm the best.
It's different fields. I mean, you cover different topics than he does. But this is more his. This is more his type of thing. He loves promoting these stories. So,
and maybe we'll get you on some other people there, Jeffrey. I want to get you everywhere I can.
I would love that. Yes, thank you.
I'm just saying, our last New Jack interview got 25,000 viewers.
Wow.
25,000.
You won't get that here. I'm not getting fucking 25,000. If you get 25, we're doing pretty fucking good. But I drink better whiskey. I drink better whiskey than he does.
That's the work my guy puts in. I mean, he's constantly grinding. It's,
we have the smile, as you see coming across there, folks. What's that, Anthony? I lost you, Anthony.
What do you say?
Anthony's internet is crank based. He actually has a hand crank that he has to use to get his internet to connect. We lose it sometimes.
They still have those?
He's dial up. It's Arizona. What the fuck do we know?
Mhm.
Now,
That ain't stuff, huh?
now this was God. I don't want to miss out on anything from you, Jeffrey.
Mhm.
We have recharge beyond
Yeah,
the bar
right. Re-entry game.
re-entry
Right.
game.
Yes.
I don't want to miss this. What is that?
Yes. So I co-own a game called Recharge Beyond the Bars Reentry Game, and it facilitates formerly incarcerated people with reconnecting with their friends and family through a series of icebreaker questions. So when you are returned back to society, it's often difficult to communicate with friends and family who have not been incarcerated, who are not reintegrating, and on their end of it, they're not quite sure of what to say, what not to say, what to ask, what not to ask. So Recharge steps in the middle and removes the awkwardness by posing the icebreaker questions. I use the game myself quite a bit with friends and family, and I always feel more connected, and I understand people more, and they understand me more when I've played it.
So this is another option. If you know somebody who's getting ready to get out, they've gotten out, and you're having issues with reconnecting with each other, if you Google Recharge Beyond the Bar re-entry game, it'll come up, and it's re-entry game, reentrythegame.com. Talk, it's difficult to talk people. Part of this that's important to me, and I haven't mentioned it before, is my father did a 1-year clip.
Oh wow.
And he deserved it. I love my old man. He passed away many moons ago, probably about 3 years ago now. But he did a 1-year clip for illegal possession of a firearm in Maryland. But that was only because he didn't have enough coke on him for them to put him away for coke. And my old man will tell you it when he was around. And he did good for himself afterwards, and he got out and he did the right things. And that's why your story kind of resonates with me, Jeffrey, is my father was somebody who was incarcerated and had to find a way on the other
That's
side of
something
it.
you never really talked about. I mean, you
Mm-mm.
always spoke highly of your dad, just never.
My old man did a 1-year clip. And love my old man, did a 1-year clip, but reality of it is it is what
Right.
it is.
Sure, but I want to also say, people are much more, than just whatever the worst thing that they ever did, and I do believe in rehabilitation as well and second chances. So I don't think that should in any way overshadow any of the
No,
many positive things that he did.
and it shouldn't.
And it shouldn't. So we're gonna get ready to put a bow on this thing here, there, gentlemen, as we get ready to close it out.
I could definitely get you in contact with my people. They'll be glad to get your story out there.
Okay,
I want your story out there, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
The next red carpet you're on, I'm not asking for much, just a walk.
You're coming. You're coming.
Guys, we should talk about doing an app for that re-entry game as well.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh, look at that app for the re-entry game.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan in a dress walking the aisle. Walking the aisle with me.
No. Maybe your buddy down there.
The loser this fantasy football season wears a dress.
Nick.
Where's Nick at?
Nick.
Where's Nick at? The loser this
I don't
fantasy
know.
football season has to wear a dress walking the red carpet for Jeffrey's story. What do you think, Jeffrey?
Pass.
Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan to me. Yes, absolutely. That's
a hard pass.
That's better than a loser leave town match. That's better than a loser leave town match.
No.
I got tears. That's a legitimate belly laugh. For those y'all gotta go see. I need Nathan in a bright red dress. Any of y'all that can send me fantasy football knowledge. I have finished second most of our seasons because I end up with the 12th pick almost every freaking time. And if you could see the big ass smile on Anthony's face, that would be perfect. And Jeffrey sitting there going, "What fucking world did I walk into just now?" Look, I got a big smile from Jeffrey just now. The Sackos were the tutu and the live draft. Oh God, that's even better. You got to wear a tutu for the live draft. How great would that be? Incarceration be defined.
No.
I agree with that. Jeanette, I love her. Thank you for your awesome show, guys. Jeffrey, you were
Why don't
awesome
you put yourself in that spot? Because you're going to be the one wearing it.
brother. How many times have you beat me in fantasy football?
Good bit.
No, you haven't.
Yes,
Do you want me to go get the
have.
mug to show you? I'll send you a picture of the
I
mug to
got a
show.
Super Bowl mug too.
Boss hog. All right, we're gonna go around the horn. Nathan, what's your final word there, brother?
Just be careful.
Be careful.
I mean, you got that guy
Jeffrey,
up
get
there.
another
Come on.
message. Thank you again, Jeffrey, for your time. Brother, Jeffrey, you are welcome back on my show.
Thank you.
Anytime you got anything to promote, I don't
Okay.
give a shit if it's squirrel racing.
Okay,
You are
thank
welcome back.
thank you very
Nathan,
much.
you got to be safe. Anthony, what do you got, brother? Oh, Nathan froze up. Or Anthony froze up. What are
What's
you
up?
doing, Anthony? Not you. Anthony froze up on us. He's frozen.
Oh, that's Arizona.
That's at Arizona Internet. Anthony, you're back. What you got for us, brother? Last words. You there, Anthony?
Get your shot.
You get your shot. Anthony, what's your final words, brother?
I'm interested in this story. Very interested. I will do my best to help you out. And my goodness, just thanks for telling it, and thanks for staying positive throughout the whole thing. And let's see. Let's hope to God we can get something going for you,
Get your
because
shot.
this nonsense needs to stop with these people.
Jeffrey,
Yeah.
as the guest of honor, what's your final word?
I would say appreciate the small. I appreciate the couple things. So appreciate the small things in life. You know, I do enjoy the fresh air, the sunlight, freedom of movement, being able to and enjoy the world. You try new things. You know, I love trying new experiences, going to new places, testing new food, and so I would encourage people to do that. I love doing firsts and new things, and so I would just try to share that message of positivity. And, you know, for anyone listening out there that has one kind of serious adversity or another, you know, you can do the same thing I did. You know, you can not quit. You know, you can set goals. You can have a plan. Remember, the plan is not the goal. The plan is how to get there. So you want to be flexible. Don't be afraid of hard work. You know, there are no reasons why you can't do something. There might be a reason why it's harder, but no reason why you can't accomplish it. Don't give up. And when you get through, and when you're about to quit, by the way, when you're about to quit, and do what I did and what I still do, which is I say to myself, you know what, this might be the key moment right here, where if I would have just kept going, I could have had a breakthrough. But because I quit, that it didn't happen. So you know what, even though I can't keep going, I'm going to go anyway, and I'm going to see what happens. So use that mindset. And when you make it through, reach back and grab somebody in that similar situation, do some work on the preventative side. And I know that translates beyond just wrongful conviction. So whether you're recovering from some debilitating illness, whether you're a victim of domestic abuse, whether you're a sexual assault survivor, or any type of other horrific scenario, extreme adversity, you know, you want to reach back. When you survive and you make it through, reach back and help other people, and, you know, become an advocate that makes a difference in the world, and it'll be healing and cathartic.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. Jeffrey, I hope all this gets you one step closer to your goal. And as always, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.